They say the ocean has no memory, that it swallows everything, ships, secrets, men. But that ain't true. The sea remembers. Not with words, not with ink, but with the pull of the tide, the whisper of the waves, the weight of the salt in the air. I met him on a cargo ship bound for nowhere. At first, he was just another stray looking for a way to disappear. I've seen plenty like him before. Men running from something or someone, thinking the open water will cleanse them like a baptism. But this one, he wasn't like the others. There was a weight on him, heavier than the ocean itself. He called himself Jack. Didn't say much at first. Kept to himself, did his work, kept his head down. But a man like me, you spend enough time staring at the horizon, you start seeing things in people. The way he moved, the way he looked over his shoulder, even when there was no one there. It told me more than words ever could. One night, we were on deck, just the two of us, the moon painting silver streaks on the water. He was sitting on a rusted crate, rolling a coin between his fingers like he was waiting for it to tell him a secret. I leaned against the rail, lit a cigarette, and watched him for a while. Then I said, "You ain't the first lost soul to board this ship, kid, but you might be the most broken." He looked at me then, really looked, and for the first time, I saw the storm in his eyes. A storm that had no home, no shore to crash against. "You ever wake up," he said, voice low, "and feel like the world just don't want you in it?" I took a drag of my cigarette, let the smoke curl into the night. "Every damn day," I said. "But the trick is, you gotta stop waiting for the world to tell you what you are. You carve it out yourself. Otherwise, the sea will do it for you. And trust me, she ain't kind." He smirked, just a ghost of a smile, gone before it could settle. "And what did she carve out of you?" I tapped the ash off my cigarette. "A man who knows what it means to lose, and a man who knows the ocean don't take pity on the weak." He nodded, like he understood, like he already knew. The ship rocked gently beneath our feet, the deep hum of the engine a steady reminder that we were always moving, never truly still. Jack stood near the railing, staring at the vast, endless blue. The way he held himself, the way his shoulders tensed. It was as if he carried an ocean within him, one far more turbulent than the one stretching before us. "You ever seen a storm come out of nowhere, Jack?" I asked, settling down on an old crate, my fingers idly playing with the worn edges of a book I had read 100 times over. One moment, it's calm, the sea like glass. Next thing you know, the sky turns black, the wind screams, and the water rises like it's got a grudge. Jack turned his head slightly, just enough to acknowledge I was talking, but not enough to fully face me. "Yeah," he muttered, voice low, distant. "I've seen storms." I chuckled, shaking my head. "No, kid, I ain't talking about the weather. I'm talking about you. People like you and me, we got storms inside. They don't always show on the surface, but when they do..." I whistled, tapping my fingers against the crate. "They leave wreckage." Jack exhaled sharply, running a hand through his dark hair. "And what? You think that storm ever settles?" I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. Sometimes you find a quiet place in between, a moment where the waves ease up just enough to let you breathe. But peace, that's a tricky thing, my friend. It ain't about calm waters. It's about learning how to sail through the rough ones." Jack scoffed, shaking his head. "I don't need some philosophical lesson from a ship hand." I grinned, unaffected by his sharp edge. "No? Then why are you still listening?" For the first time, Jack turned fully toward me. His green eyes, sharp, intense, calculating, searched mine. He was trying to figure me out, trying to decide if I was just some old fool with too many words and too little sense. "You read a lot?" he asked, his voice tinged with something close to curiosity. I lifted the book in my hands. The cover faded and creased. "I read whatever I can find." Words are like the stars, Jack. You start connecting them, and sometimes you see patterns. Sometimes they guide you. Jack looked away, back at the sea, back at the darkness on the horizon. "I don't know if I believe in that." I let out a small chuckle, nodding to myself. "You don't gotta believe in it, kid. Just gotta know it's there." The ship groaned as it cut through the waves, and the silence between us stretched, comfortable in its weight. Jack might not have been ready to talk, but he was listening. That was enough. For now. The waves kept crashing against the hull, a steady rhythm that had long become a part of my being. The boy Jack sat across from me, silent as the sea before a storm. His fingers idly played with a coin, rolling it between his knuckles like a man with too much on his mind and too few words to speak it. I leaned back against the bulkhead, lighting a cigarette I'd rolled from scraps of tobacco I found in my duffel. "You think too much, boy," I said, letting the smoke curl up into the stale air. "A man who carries the weight of his past like an anchor will find himself sinking before he ever reaches shore." Jack's green eyes flickered up to meet mine, sharp like a blade. "You read that somewhere?" he asked, voice rough from days of silence. I chuckled, tapping the ash against my boot. "Nah, just something you figure out when you've spent as much time as I have watching men drown in their own regrets." Jack's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. I could see it in him, the way his shoulders hunched, the way his breath came slow and measured, like a man trying to control a storm raging inside. I'd seen men like him before, ghosts in their own skin. "You planning on jumping ship, boy?" I asked after a while, keeping my gaze steady. Jack scoffed, shaking his head. "Not exactly. Good. Not much out there but cold water and hungry things waiting below." I let the words hang for a moment before continuing. "But that ain't the reason, is it?" He shot me a glance, one that told me I was getting too close to whatever shadows he carried. "You ask too many questions," he muttered. I grinned. "That's what happens when you've been around long enough. You stop talking about yourself and start figuring out the people around you." Jack didn't respond, just kept rolling that coin between his fingers, his mind already leagues away from his cabin, from this ship, maybe even from himself. "You don't have to tell me what's chasing you, boy," I said finally, flicking the last of my cigarette away. "But you ought to figure out whether you're running from it, or toward it." He didn't answer, but the way his fingers stilled on that coin told me he was thinking about it. And that, at least, was a start. The wind carried the scent of salt and rust, a perfume only the sea could compose. I sat on a worn crate, my hands wrapped around a tin cup of strong, bitter coffee. Jack stood by the railing, his gaze fixed on the endless horizon, as if searching for something beyond the waves. He was quiet, but his silence wasn't empty. It was filled with ghosts. "You watch the sea like a man who's afraid it'll swallow him whole," I said, taking a sip from my cup. "But the ocean, my friend, does not take what is already drowning." Jack exhaled sharply, his lips twisting into something that wasn't quite a smile. "That's supposed to be comforting." I chuckled. "It's supposed to be the truth. A man like you, he's not running from the world. He's running from himself. And the thing about running from yourself, you always catch up." Jack finally turned to face me, his green eyes sharp in the dim light. "What makes you think I'm running?" I tapped the side of my head. "Experience. I have met many men in my time. Sailors, drifters, thieves. Men who fought wars. Men who lost wars. You got the eyes of someone who's seen too much, too soon. And men like that, they don't sit still for long." He scoffed, shaking his head as he ran a hand through his hair. "You sure talk a lot for someone who doesn't ask many questions. A good sailor listens more than he speaks. The sea teaches that lesson early." I leaned back, letting my bones settle. "But you got a storm inside you, boy. And storms don't just disappear." Jack clenched his jaw, turning back to the ocean. The ship rocked gently beneath us, waves lapping against the hull like an impatient hand knocking on a door. "Maybe I don't want it to disappear," he muttered. I studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Maybe not. Some storms are meant to rage. But tell me this, Jack. When the storm passes, what's left?" He didn't answer. Not right away. But the silence between us wasn't empty. It never was.
Jack may be here, maybe right next to you.